Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Aaron with another YouTube video, and today, yeah, I know I'm wearing the same clothes as I did in the Dank Demoss video, but I feel like, while I'm in these clothes, while I'm in the mood, why not fire out this video to you guys? So, I don't know if you guys, excuse me, remember this or not, but this past summer I took a ride to Port Jervis, New York, and I actually stayed there for 2 nights, total 2.5 days. And I don't know why, but I never really made a video about my experience over there. For some reason, it just never came to me. But I always had the need to make that video for God knows how long. Well, it's here today, and thankfully I remember everything. So let's get on with it, shall we? So this was a trip I actually wanted to take for a while because I've wanted to film Fifth Train 50, which is the 5:48 a.m. train out of Port Jervis, which I believe arrives at Hoboken at around 8 a.m. Sorry, not I don't know why I say 8 p.m. 8 a.m. And because the last time I filmed Train 59, which was about I want to say 5.5 years ago, the video didn't turn out as good, and I wanted to film a better version for you guys. So I also wanted to film that too in the same day. So to get my money's worth, so I'd take 50 into New York, or 50 into Hoboken, and then 59 back to Port Jervis. So yeah, this was a trip I wanted to do for a while, but I never really had time to do it because I'd either have school or work or just life just getting in the way. But anyway, since last year, since the fare hikes were going into effect, I decided to book myself some train tickets so I could go on the Hotshot trains on the Port Jervis line. And I also want to do a nice a PM rush hour video at Port Jervis because I never really have, I thought since I was there, why not get it out of the way? So it all starts in the beginning where, I believe it was July 10th. It was just overall, it was just a very hot week. Temperatures 85 degrees to 95 degrees roughly. One day it almost hit 100 degrees, but I think that was I was 2 days prior on the 8th. So on the 10th is when I left. It was a pretty hectic day to say the least. So I already started my packing the night before, but the day off I was, scrambling some stuff together. And at that time I decided, since I had a buy one get one free Smoothie King coupon, I thought I'd use that up so I could save money on dinner that night and get myself a large smoothie for dinner, and then for breakfast the following morning have a large smoothie. So I head over to Smoothie King in my car, and as soon as I approach the light, this light normally takes what, a minute or so to turn green once you get there. Sometimes it'll turn green when nobody's there, but this particular light, I was there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, y'all, and that thing still didn't turn green, and there's a whole line of cars. Long story short, light turns green. I end up running to Smoothie King 10, 11, 12 minutes later than I needed. And then once I get to Smoothie King, I had to wait even longer because the people at Smoothie King kept on taking customers before me, even though I had been there first. I think I was second in line. So anyway, I grabbed the smoothies, I get back home, and I had to make a beeline for the station. So I just grabbed my backpack, grabbed my duffel bag, head down to the station, park my car, wait for train 3252. It pulls through, and then I take my seat in the train. And then once the conductor comes to take my ticket, I'm like, I swear I've seen this guy before. And it turns out he was the conductor in the very first car of both 4682 and 4687, 3 days prior when I went on the Atlantic City line to do some Atlantic City line filming. So he remembered me as soon as I brought up that I was the guy filming, and we had a nice conversation. So it's always cool to see familiar faces, especially since you've interacted with them prior. And I thought it was, I know obviously conductors are on call wherever New Jersey Transit wants them to go, they'll go there. But the fact that he was Atlantic City line 3 days prior, and that very same day, he was on the North Jersey coastline, which are 90 miles apart from one another, at least Middletown to Atlantic City. Fast forward a little bit, we get to Secaucus, and honestly, not much has happened between Secaucus or Middletown and Secaucus. Of course, before one thing I forgot to mention, after I had picked up the smoothies from Smoothie King, I'd stopped at actually no, this is before I went to Smoothie King. I'd stopped at ShopRite to pick up a bunch of bananas because I wanted a nice healthy a calorie rich, nutrient rich snack to hold me over while I was on my trip. So thankfully, I stopped and grabbed those bananas. So yeah, I don't know why that was relevant, but I just wanted to include. The thing with me, guys, I'm extremely detail oriented. I like to include every single detail, and if you guys don't like that, I apologize, but that's who I am, and unfortunately, that's how I'll continue to be. So fast forward a little bit, I reach Secaucus. I decided to film the upper level for a little bit because I've never filmed the upper level at Secaucus. So I did that. Went upstairs so I could reach the fare gates, and because I'd used my courtesy pass to board this train. While I was talking to this conductor, he asked me where I was going, said Port Jervis, punched a hole, changed to Secaucus, handed me back the ticket. Once I get there to Secaucus, I asked the employee there. I tell her, "Hey, miss, I actually have a courtesy pass. So is there a possibility that I'm let through?" She's like, "Sure, just let me see it." Showed it to her. Used the key. Fare gates opened. Went downstairs. Waited for 51. Fast forward, 51 pulls through. I take my seat. Of course, windows are foggy as hell on the left side because that side gets struck by the sun the most, especially during PM rush hour. So for a little bit, I was sitting on the left. Then I moved over to the right, and I would alternate as needed, especially when I got to the Port Jervis line, aka the southern tier, because I wanted to film, all the station platforms that were not Middletown and Port Jervis because those two were on the right side. So nothing much really happens between Secaucus and I want to say Middletown or no Campbell Hall, sorry, because it's just me filming, getting my usual angles and whatnot. So as soon as we depart Campbell Hall, one of the conductors comes back to check to see how many passengers are left. She sees me filming. She's like, "Oh, just out of curiosity, what are you filming?" So I'm like, "Oh, I'm just filming outside because it's summertime and the Muna Viaduct. Everything just looks nice." And she's like, "Oh, how are you able to catch all that on video, even though the train is going like 60, 70 miles per hour?" So I told her it's because of I used the frame rate on the camera at 60 frames per second. And she's like, "Oh, that's how you see it." It's like some people though they're not familiar with the camera rates and all that. So I just told her 60 frames per second makes the frame rate look super fast. So when you're panning the camera left to right like this, see how it's kind of slowish and not so clear, but with 60 frames per second it's like really fast, clear visuals. It's really nice. So she's like, "Oh, that's what's up." And then I told her, like, since I'm on my off day, I normally work from home because I have to keep an eye on my grandma and stuff like that. This is some of the things that I like to do in my spare time, recording video. And she's like, "Oh, that's cool. My boyfriend also works remote too. I think he shoots like videos or something for various rap groups, singers like the Wu-Tang Clan, for example." So I said, "Oh, that's cool." And then I mentioned that I uploaded these videos to YouTube so I could get paid from them. And I had mentioned that maybe her boyfriend could try something like that. That's a good way to earn some money. And she introduced herself as Tamara to me. I introduced myself. And Tamara, somehow, some way, if you managed to see this, you were awesome. I'm glad you and I got to meet, and hopefully our paths cross sometime soon. I appreciate, really do, you taking the time to talk to me. It's the small things like that that really go a long way with me. Even though conductors don't have to talk to you, it's the small steps that count. So, yeah. Once we get to Middletown, then she calls out my name. She says, "Aaron, just so you know, you have to walk all the way to the back." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then as I'm walking back, she sees me filming with the camera. She's like, "Oh, don't put me on your YouTube." A little bit of a sense of humor from Tamara, really. And overall, the crew on 51, they really wanted passengers to know to exit the train. So not just Tamara, but I appreciate the other two conductors letting me know. Just so you know, you have to exit the very last car of the train. We'll be at Port Jervis in about 20 minutes. That conductor told me that when we were at Otisville. So fast forward to Port Jervis, I exit the train. Uh, Tamara says, "Nice to meet you," and have a good night, and that, this and that. 51 pulls into the yard. I go into my hotel. I check in. I decided to stay at the Erie Hotel because I knew right away, right off the bat, I wasn't gonna stay at Port Jervis at the hotel very long. Most of my time would be spent outside the room. So The way the Erie Hotel works, it's not like your traditional hotel where you would walk in to the front desk, ask them for a key card to say, oh, you're checking in. This time I had to go to the restaurant portion. I would speak to the bartender. I would tell them, I told her, I was saying, hey, I'm checking in, asked me for my name, credit card, I paid. She gives me a key. I walk upstairs, and it's not like your traditional, like I said, you don't need a key card for this. So I had to walk outside the hotel or outside the restaurant and then another door to the hotel portion. And of course, I asked for the twin size room because it's just me. Room one, unlock the door, cool air, and it was very welcoming considering the fact that it was hot as hell in New York, Orange County, to be more specific. I walk in, set my stuff down, and I gotta tell you guys, for an old hotel room, very pristine, nice tiles. The bedding was nice. It wasn't even the usual white sheets. It was like navy blue bed sheets, a nice quilt. Kind of reminds me of the bed sheets that I normally use back home. So I felt right at home right then and there. And the bathroom too, kind of old timey ish. Sink was abnormally low. And then, of course, it's not a bathtub, it's a stand in shower. Because the thing with the hotel, it's not so much of a hotel, it's more so of an inn. So my main problem with that hotel room, there wasn't a fridge. Honestly, there could have been a fridge, and as I mentioned earlier, I brought smoothies, and more than likely, I was worried that they would go bad because temperature outside, and I didn't want them to, be all rotten for me to have when it was time for me to, actually have them. But nonetheless, I still made it work. And the other issue was, I believe there was only one bulb working in that ceiling fan. Three bulbs in there, only one was working. So it was abnormally dark, but thankfully that lamp was there to suffice. Fast forward a little bit, I set my stuff down. I head back to the station. I do my filming. Um, what was it? 53. This is a conductor had acknowledged me saying, saying hi, hello, this and that. 55 on the other hand was I felt was the best crew because 55's engineer gave me a couple of horn toots, and then the conductor was asking me, oh, you like the nice view and all that, you're getting the view? And I was like, yeah, I'm just recording the view of the train and the mountains in the back. 57, not much, just doing their jobs. And after after 57 pulled into the yard, this woman walks up to me. She said, oh, did you get good cinematography? So I was like, yeah, I did. And we had a conversation for a little bit. She told me I told her I came up here just to tour the town a little bit. She told me she was a stewardess. She came back to visit her family, and she even had informed me that it's like now Port Jervis is going through a renaissance period where most people are moving out of the city into Port Jervis. And I was saying, oh, that's cool because I read that back one day when the Erie Railroad was still around, most of the residents of Port Jervis used to work for the railroad, so that's why the town was thriving. And as soon as the Erie Railroad, went defunct, that's when Port Jervis kind of declined in quality because every single, I'd say about 9 out of 10 times an individual that would work in Port Jervis would work who resided in Port Jervis would work for the Erie Railroad. So yeah, overall, very nice lady. That's one thing I needed to mention. The people at Port Jervis, extremely friendly people, willing to talk to you. Even if it's just a couple of people here and there, it makes a difference compared to the not so friendly people in the town that I live in and New York City. Port Jervis, very nice people. And yeah, I remember that lady's name was Lisa. Lisa, Tamara, very awesome people. So I continue filming. Not much really going on in this time, except when I was filming, I want to say 68. Then a guy approaches me. He begins talking to me about my camera. He mentions that he has I believe it was a Canon camera, and he even mentioned that I remind him of his. I don't know if it was his cousin. It was his Down syndrome cousin who also likes trains. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad that I remind you of a fellow train enthusiast in your family. So yeah, fast forward a little bit, 165 comes. Overall, the day was a little bit of a mess. A couple of the trains were late because I think 63 had to connect with a train from New York. So because 63 was late, 68 was 20 minutes late departing from Port Jervis, and then because of that, 65 ran 20 minutes behind schedule. So I ended up going to bed really late that night. I get back to my hotel room, have my smooth. Once I'm done filming 65, have my smoothie, take a shower, go to sleep. And throughout the entire time I was at Port Jervis, I got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep because I had to get up early, and just overall, it was a day of hustling and bustling, the usual railfan shenanigans, if you will. So I couldn't sleep that night because the room, it sucks, especially with someone with my condition. I don't know if you guys knew about this TSW, but the thing with TSW is that it's very you either you either get hot too easily or cold too easily. So whenever I try to turn on the AC, it would be too cold, and then the AC off, too hot, and the dripping of the water of the shower that kept me up too. So my sleep wasn't that good, to say the least. So fast forward to the next day, July 11th, around, I want to say 4:50ish, close to about 10 minutes to 5. I woke up, brushed my teeth, put my clothes on, grabbed my giant water bottle, water gallon that I had bought from the Walgreens the night before. I head over to the terminal, and I was surprised to see that train 50 was sitting there. Because usually, I'd say about 5 or 3 minutes before it's time to depart, that's when the train pulls in. But that train has been waiting there for, I'd say, a solid 10 minutes, and I'd got there 5 minutes before departure. So I had to be quick, do my recording. I sat in train 50, and overall, there's not much to say about that ride other than the cab car was actually sectioned off until Middletown. Then they opened up the cab car. I sat in there. Horn was squeaky, so it wasn't that good of a horn. It was cab car 6713, and 4909 was shoving, the same exact train that I took on 51 the day prior. Not really much to say about this ride other than the fact that, like I said, main reason why I wanted to film it is because between Secaucus and Harriman, it doesn't make any stops. It's straight up an express ride. So I pull into Hoboken, get whatever videos I need to get, and head over to my appointment, get that taken care of. And like I said, need I remind you guys, it was extremely hot. So a lot of sweating, a lot of itching because of my skin condition. Sweat aggravates it, so it's not fun. Fast forward back to, I want to say 4 p.m. I return to Hoboken Terminal, do all my filming to kill a little bit of time because I wanted to do some of the weekday filming. I managed to catch 4503, the Atlas Heritage Unit, which was pretty nice to see after 8 months of it roaming on the rails. What else can I say? Not much has really, it's just the usual, PM rush hour, trains coming in back and forth. I can't really think of anything significant of those, of that particular ride. So, yeah, so it's just the usual PM rush filming. And then the time comes, I'd say around 6:10ish. I'm on a different track, so I have to kind of walk fast all the way to track 6 where train 59 was waiting for me. I board, I sit in, and yeah, I was able to learn from my previous mistake of filming on the left side, so I filmed on the right side this time. And thankfully, this train also announced that, yeah, this time this conductor had announced that the train wouldn't stop in New Jersey, which is something that's very important to mention for 50 and 59. 50, it should be important because any stop between Harriman and Secaucus would not be served, so you would have to wait for 52 if possible. So maybe the reason why the conductor didn't announce it is because, after 50, 52 is like, what, an hour or so behind. But with 59, there's at least other options to take other than 59 because you're in Secaucus. That's why they announce, oh, this train is not going to stop in New Jersey, which is very important because if I'm not mistaken, Secaucus and Harriman are 40 miles apart. So yeah, you definitely want to change trains if 59 is not the right train because otherwise the engineer is not going to stop for you. So yeah, uh, unfortunately, compared to the set that I took in 2019, this set was pure New Jersey Transit, ALP 45 DP on the point. So main reason why 59 is always New Jersey Transit equipment is because it comes off of train 808, which originates at Lake Hopatcong, which is a Morristown train. So 9 out of 10 times that's going to be New Jersey Transit equipment. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, not much is going on in this at this point. Like the very honestly, I'm not gonna lie, more in terms of interactions with other people went on in half of July 10th than all of July 11th. July 11th was mainly a filming heavy day because I didn't really interact with anybody except maybe just my doctor and maybe a couple of friends on the phone, but nobody really in person. Fast forward a little bit, I reach Port Jervis, of course, around I think while I'm in the Otisville tunnel, I start making my way back to the end of the train. Uh, I don't know if it really matters at this point, but I'll just say it. 4527 was leading and 6046 was trailing. I'm not sure. I think that's it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is. That those two videos of the all the videos of the train rides that I took, 51, 50, 59, and 44 are all going to go up on my channel. So don't worry about that, guys. So long story short, I pull into Port Jervis, and at that point, I decided, I wanted to get to bed early because I didn't. As it is, it was late as hell, and I had to wake up the following morning. Now, the main reason why I had to get up so early in the morning is because I wanted to film 3505. The express train to South Amboy, because there's not too many express trains to South Amboy. In fact, I think there's only, including 3505, I think there was two. Originally, I could have taken 3507, but if that was a thing, but it's not. So yeah, 3505 was the next best thing. So I get to my hotel room, put my stuff down, I order my dinner on the app, and I pick it up. And I gotta tell you, like I said the previous day, the staff at the Erie restaurant portion of the Erie Hotel and Restaurant, super friendly, great attention to detail, and the food was amazing. So I take my food up to the hotel room, do a little bit of a mukbang action. I don't know when that video is going to go up, guys, so please don't hound me for it. So I believe it was a club sandwich. The bacon, the turkey is just deliciousness. A huge thing of French fries on the side. What else did I order? And I don't remember if I ordered anything else besides the French fries, the sandwich, and then of course the turtle cheesecake. Oh man, just thinking about that turtle cheesecake brings back so many good memories. It was so good. The pecans, the chocolate, the graham cracker. I don't think it was a graham cracker crust. It was like a chocolate cookie type crust. Either way, it was very delicious. So finish my dinner. I take my shower, go to sleep, and this time my sleep was less than the previous night because I had to get up at like 3:45. This time it wasn't even at quarter to 5. It was at quarter to 4 I had to get up because I had to, make sure everything was according to plan. Uh, Shower was off, leave the room exactly how I found it, try to, not leave the room a slobbery mess. Needed some time to gather up all my belongings. And the thing about this hotel, it's not like you have to walk up to the desk and check out. So that was one of the things I was worried about because I didn't want to miss train 44 to connect to 3505 because 46 arrives 10 minutes after 3505, and I don't want to, risk losing the connection. The thing with this hotel about checking out, it's not like your typical hotel where you would go to the front desk, say, "Oh, I'm checking out." This particular hotel, I think what happens is you would go to the hotel, you put your credit card on hold, they give you your key, and then when it's time to check out, you pay. This particular hotel, when you check in, you pay because you specify how many nights you're going to stay on the website. So the way you check out over here is by 11 o'clock, you have to leave the room. That's it. Like every single thing, every one of your belongings, and you especially need to leave by 11 a.m. So what you would do is I believe I left the key on the desk. You leave the key wherever you want and you just leave. That's all you do. So if it wasn't for 3505, I would have honestly taken either 62 or 64 a little bit later in the day because, but I felt like taking the earlier train because I wanted 3505. So I grabbed my stuff, leave the hotel room, and it felt so weird around 4 in the morning, dark as hell, Port Jervis. I just want to say, before I continue further, I just want to say Port Jervis, it kind of reminds me of an old-timey version of Red Bank, in the mountains, small town, restaurants everywhere, population not too big. It's not if I'm not mistaken, it's not a sanctuary city like Red Bank, but overall, it's like a old-timey version of Red Bank, if that makes any sense to all my New Jersey viewers. So overall, yeah, I definitely would consider moving to a place like Port Jervis in the future. Maybe not in the past when the Erie Railroad went defunct and Port Jervis kind of declined in quality, because you'd want to live in a good neighborhood, nice peaceful neighborhood, to get away from the hustle and bustle of the urban lifestyle of New York City, if you will. So overall, my experience in Port Jervis, very nice. Nice people, nice atmosphere. Oh, there was one more thing I actually forgot to mention. I can't believe I let this slip my mind. So after I took train 50, because I arrived about 3 hours early to New York than I needed to in order to get to my appointment, I thought I'd film the 5 train to Gun Hill Road, which is something I've never done. So overall, that day though, it was kind of a mess because most of the 5 trains would either go to East 180th Street or they would go to Dyer Avenue. So what happened was I went to, where did I go? I went to 149th Street Grand Concourse on, I believe it was the 2 train, the 2 or the 4 train. I don't recall which train exactly, but I took one of those trains. So I reach 149th Street Grand Concourse. The supposed Gun Hill Road bound 5 train comes. I walk in. I put the camera to the rail fan window. Right away, the train stops a little bit. The motor woman, she opens the door and she says, "Hey, don't film that camera there." She said it with such hostility. It's like, damn, girl, I'm just filming. I'm not filming you. That's why there's protective film on the sides of the door. So specifically, so I don't get you on camera. I'm trying to film outside. But because I didn't want this lady to throw a fit and hold up the train and then other passengers to be upset at me, I just decided to say, screw it, I'm not going to even bother entertaining this any longer. So I just moved to a different car and filmed all the way East 180th. And it turned out to be a waste of time anyway because the train ended up going to Dyer Avenue. It was 3 attempts to film a Gun Hill Road Bound 5 train, and I failed every single time because 2 of them went to East 180th, and the one I was on ended up going to Dyer Avenue, probably because they were short on trains or something. So yeah, it is what it is. Not yeah, That's basically what I did in the meantime while waiting for my doctor's appointment. I decided to film the 5 train to Gun Hill since I've never done that before, and I just wanted to leave this in there that motor woman was extremely rude. I One day I will upload that on my channel if I can, access my hard drive, take a look at which video was exactly because I don't remember myself when which folder it's in. So if I find it, I'll be more than happy to share it with you guys. That's how it was. She stopped the train. Most engineers, when they don't like you filming, they'll stop the train and they'll tap on the glass. But she actually opened the door just to tell me to stop filming. I don't know how long she's been working for the MTA. I'm surprised she doesn't know that filming is legal. Oh well, I guess some crew members are just ignorant of the rules, not even the law, the rules. So that was that. I don't know why I didn't mention that after I'd mentioned getting off of train 50 at home. Sorry about that, guys. The video kind of froze up a little bit, and so I thought it just stopped recording. Anyway, so that's the can't even talk. That's the main reason why I am including my encounter with that 5 train operator at this point in the video instead of the beginning, because for some reason I forgot. But as soon as I mentioned other situations in my trip to Port Jervis now, that's when I remembered. So back to the present time of this story. So I'm walking to the terminal with my bag in hand, dark as hell. Port Jervis, 4 a.m. Not the best time to walk around because I'm not really much of a extreme late night walker, but if you have to take a train, you have to take a train. So I reached to Port Jervis, and unlike train 50 the day prior, train 44, I arrived there earlier, 10 minutes earlier before departure, as opposed to the 5 minutes earlier that I did for train 50. And this time, there was no train in the terminal, so the train pulls through, and it was the same set that ran on 57 the night prior, which was surprising. The 4909 set must have ran on 42, because sometimes if it ends on 65 the day prior, it'll start on 42 the day after. But 9 out of 10 times, 65 the day prior turns for 64 or 44 the day after. So anyway, that's not important. So train pulls in. I take my bag, sit down, and about 2 minutes later, conductor walks towards me. As I'm taking my seat, I drop my courtesy pass because I had two. I don't know if you guys, if I told you guys this, I'd used a courtesy pass from Middletown to Port Jervis, regular tickets between Hoboken and Port Jervis, and then the second courtesy pass was intended for Port Jervis to Middletown. So then the conductor comes, says, "Hey, what's going on?" And then, "Oh, why? What are you recording?" So I'm like, "Oh, it's just a video blog. Nothing too fancy." So as I pull out my courtesy pass from my wallet, I drop it. I'm like, "Oh, my bad." He takes it, says, "Where are you going?" I mistakenly say Middletown, New York. I don't know why I said it, because maybe it's because I was on the Port Jervis line. I was thinking of Middletown, New York. Then I retracted that and I said Middletown, New Jersey is correct. The reason why this particular segment, this particular portion of the trip really grinds my gears is because after I told him Middletown, New Jersey, he said, "Oh, Secaucus." He acknowledged that I have to change the trains at Secaucus. So he's like, "Oh, Secaucus, you have a long day, brother." So he takes the courtesy pass, leaves with it, and I'm like, "Hey, can I get that back?" He's like, "No, I have to take the ticket." Like, why do you have to take the ticket? You Okay? Here's the thing. Even if let's say I had two, for the sake of this story, let's say I had two courtesy passes, one punched, one unpunched. I would never, ever, ever, if I was starting off in Port Jervis, I would never give a ticket that's punched, because then they'll know that it's been used, which you can't do. It can only be used once. So I obviously gave him a fresh ticket. And he even acknowledged that I had to change trains at Secaucus to get to Middletown, New Jersey. But he still took my ticket. And he's like, "No, I have to take the ticket." So smug, too. He's like, "No, I have to take the ticket." So, long story short, that entire trip, I wasn't too happy. I was kind of in a sour mood. And need I remind you, I only got like what 3 to 4 hours of sleep that night, so I was already pissed off anyway. Even though it was a good trip, lack of sleep really screws up a person's mood. So yeah, I get down to Secaucus, and I was thinking myself in my mind, the only thing positive I will say is that he didn't give me a hard time about filming, even though he took my ticket. I was still able to film as freely as I chose. I'm surprised he didn't even care that I caught that whole encounter on video. I didn't capture his face saying, "No, I have to take it," but all the audio, it's all on camera. So I don't know when it's going to go up, but hopefully by next month or so, I'll have that video for you guys, uh, explaining that situation. So yeah, it's just disrespectful. You clearly see that the ticket's unpunched, and you still decide to take it anyway. And it's a courtesy pass too. That was supposed to get me home to Middletown, and he acknowledged that I had to change trains at Middletown or change trains at Secaucus to continue my trip. So I get to Secaucus, go up to the customer service counter, and I tell them, "Hey, conductor had taken my courtesy pass, and I needed that to continue my trip to Middletown." And of course, the lady at the desk was saying, "Oh, there's nothing we can do, because the conductors, when they take the tickets, the decision's final." And then I was saying, "I know, I understand that, but this was the only means of travel that I had to get back to Middletown." And then the lady behind her, some Jamaican lady, and she had a Jamaican accent, walks to the counter. She says the same exact thing. "Oh, there's nothing we could do. Conductor's decision is final, and that's up to their discretion." Like, I was thinking to myself, all right, fine, whatever. And in my mind, I was like, "Thanks for nothing." But of course, I was just like, whatever, nothing I can do. If I cause a scene, that's not going to end well for me. So I'm just like, screw it. I'll go home. I'll file the complaint. I had to buy a ticket, scan the ticket, went down, wait for 3505. 3505 pulls through. It was a nice express ride to South Amboy. And when I had talked to the conductor, he was saying, "This train doesn't go to Middletown." So I was like, "It's fine. I'll just change to South Amboy." Probably because he wasn't expecting me to take a South Amboy train and then change for a Middletown train. You would just change for the Middletown train or Longbridge train at Secaucus. But he's just like, "Yeah, change at South Amboy." And it was kind of nice. Intermittently, he mentioned about I think it was the river draw that's being repaired too. So it was a nice short conversation about the bridge. Long story short, I reach South Amboy, wait 20 minutes for the 3221. I take that back to Middletown, And that's pretty much the end of it. So overall, guys, I know I didn't mention too much the story of the conductor. I'm actually going to be making a third video pertaining to that, so I'm sorry if that portion was a little bit too short, but it is what it is. That's not the main purpose of this video, although I was thinking of including that segment in this video, but the main purpose was to tell you guys about my experience at Port Jervis. So overall, guys, I'd have to say, even though there were some bumps with Train 44's conductor and the 5 train to go, supposed 5 train to Gun Hill Road's motor woman, ultimately it was a very nice trip. You know, the people were very friendly at Port Jervis. Uh, that one lady, Lisa, and then that one guy who said, I remind him of his cousin who's a train enthusiast. He also had mentioned he was also friendly too. They those two specifically, even tomorrow too, they really had a good eye for cinematography. So I really appreciate that. So overall, I'd have to rate this trip. I'd say an 8.5 out of 10. I would have probably said 9 out of 10, but I took off a half because of the BS with the conductor and the motor woman. So overall, I would love to return to Port Jervis at some point in the future, but for now, I guess I'll have to focus on my work and all the important stuff too. And a Port Jervis trip in the future will definitely be in the books, but not anytime soon. So once again, guys, that's it for this video. I know it's a very long video and I've been talking your heads off like crazy, so I apologize for that, but nevertheless, I thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video to whoever you know, and if any of you guys are interested in going to Port Jervis, I highly recommend it. Lots of friendly people, nice little town, and now it's definitely getting its edge back that it used to have before the 1980s. So definitely would recommend going to Port Jervis. It's a nice little area, to say the least. I'm not so much of a small town kind of guy, but something about Port Jervis really, struck out to me. Not just because of the railroad history, but just the simplicity of the town. A person that doesn't want things to be too complex, Port Jervis is definitely the city for them. City or town? I think it is a city. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. But until then, take care and just have a nice day.